All right, welcome back, and we are on our third ACT prep practice test. So here's 60 more problems for you to try and see how you do. Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, the Smith children receive an allowance beginning at age 8. Each child receives an allowance equal to 50 times his or her age. How much more allowance will a 15-year-old receive than a 9-year-old? The 15-year-old, if you multiply by 50 cents, would make $7.50. The 9-year-old times 50 cents would make $4.50. So how much more did he make? Well, that's a subtraction problem, and if you subtract those, you get $30. Okay, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, again, the whole common denominator thing really drives people crazy when adding and subtracting fractions. And again, in my tutorials, you can totally type this in a calculator, 2/5 plus 1/2 plus, you just type it in just exactly like that with parentheses. And then when you get done, you hit math, enter, enter, and it will turn your answer into a fraction. But if you're going to do this by hand, sometimes it's easier just to do it by hand if they're small and simple like this. One way to get a common denominator, it might not be the smallest, but it's called crisscross straight across. So criss, you multiply down, 2 times 2. Whatever sign is in here, you copy. Cross would be 5 times 1. Over straight across would be 5 times 2. Plus, if we do the second one, I have criss would be 3 times 3. Minus cross would be 5 times 2. Over straight across would be 5 times 3. And then if we simplify that, we get our answer. So this would be 4 plus 5 and 10, so that's 9/10. This is 9 minus 10, which is -1 over 15. And now I have to do it again because these two guys don't have a common denominator. So I'm going to criss, which would be 9 times 15. Copy the sign. Cross would be 10 times 1. Over straight across would be 10 times 15. Well, 9 times 15, that'd be 135. 10 times 1 would be minus 10. 10 times 15 is 150. Subtract on top, that's 125 over 150. And if you math enter that, reduce it down, it reduces down to 5/6. Okay? All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. All right, Mark pulled 25 households and found there was an average of 2.5 children per household. However, when looking back at the calculations, Mark realized that he divided by 24 instead of 25 to find the average. What is the actual average number of children in the 25 households surveyed? Well, whatever they did to get 2.5 as an average, they added a whole bunch of stuff up and divided by 24. Okay, so whatever this added up to, they divided by 24 and got 2.5. So if I want to figure out what they had before they divided, in other words, get x alone, I'd multiply both sides by 24. And that would give me the total before they divided was 60. So the real average would be the total again, but now instead of dividing by 24, we divide by 25, and if you type that in, you get 2.4. Okay? Hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, in the figure below, points A and B lie on a circle, and C is the center of the circle, which means this is a radius, and this is a radius. And since all radii of a circle are equal, these two sides are equal, which makes these two angles equal. Because if two sides are equal, then the base angles have to be, which makes it an isosceles triangle. So they want us to figure out the measure of CAB. They want this measure right there. Well, whatever this is, let's say I call it x, this has to be the same measure because they're base angles of an isosceles triangle. So now I can say that 80 plus x has to make 180 because the three angles of a triangle make 180. So that would be 80 plus 2x equals 180. Take away 80, you get 2x equals 100. Divide by 2, and each of those base angles has to be 50 degrees. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, on this one, you wouldn't try and do the square root of 32 minus the square root of 7. You do the math first. 32 take away 7 is 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. That was an easy one. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 6 feet. Alright, a diver takes 3 measurements straight down from the surface of the ocean as shown in the following figure. The distance from the surface to point Y is 16. The distance from point X, get a different color here, from point X to point Z is 23 feet. And if the distance from the surface to point Z, from the surface all the way, let me change a different color. How about green? The distance all the way from the surface down to point Z is 33 feet. Well, let's see. If I take, what do we want to find? We want to find the distance from point X to point Y. So we want to know this distance right in here. This is what we're looking for. Well, let's see. I know that if I take 33 and subtract 16, I'll get this length right here. So 33 take away 16 is 17, which would be this distance right here from Y to Z. Okay, so now if I take my 23, trying to find a different color here. If I take my 23 and take off 17, that will leave me with XY. So 23 take away 17 leaves 6 feet for right there. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And you get 120. So it says in the figure below, L and M are parallel lines cut by a transversal T. What is the difference between the value of A and the value of B? Well, if this is 30 degrees, then this is 30 degrees by vertical angles. And if this is 30 degrees, then this is 30 degrees because of alternate interior angles. And if that's 30 degrees, then this is 150 degrees because of a straight angle. And so the difference between them from A and B is 150. Take away 30 would be 120. Okay? Alright, hit pause. Try this one. Come back when you're ready. Alright, it says the absolute value of 10 plus 1 divided by the absolute value of 9 minus 10. Well, we got to do inside first. 10 plus 1 is 11. 9 minus 10 is negative 1. The absolute value of 11 is 11. The absolute value of negative 1 is 1. So 11 divided by 1 is, 11 divided by 1 is 11. Yeah? Come on, there we go. Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, evaluate 3z squared minus z plus 5 for z equal 4. They're telling me to take out the, oh my goodness, to take out the z's and replace them with 4's. So I have 3z squared minus z plus 5. I took out the z's, and I'm going to put in the 4's. And then order of operations. Square first. 16 times 3 is 48. Minus 4 plus 5. That's 44 plus 5 is 49. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, In the figure below, lines C and D are parallel. They are both cut by two lines, A and B, which intersect each other. The measure of angle X is 90 degrees, which they showed me with a little box, and the measure of angle Y is 40 degrees. What is the measure of angle Z? So they want me to figure out this one right here. Well, if this is 90, then this is 90 because they're vertical angles. If this is 40 degrees, then this is 40 degrees because of alternate interior angles. So then I can just say that 90 plus 40 plus Z has to make 180 degrees. Well, that's 130 plus Z equals 180. Take away 130, and you get angle Z equals 50 degrees. Alrighty. Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, Joshua earns $7 per hour of work. If his wages are decreased by D dollars an hour, so he's no longer making 7, they're taking D away from him. Which of the following equations represent the amount of money Joshua will earn with the new wage if he works 20 hours? Well, to figure out your pay is going to be the number of hours you work times the amount of money you make. Well, this is going to be the amount of money I make, and the number of hours I worked was 20. So 20 times 7 minus D, so they're more professional and put $7 minus D, alright, would be your expression. Okay, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Okay, they want me to solve for y, which means I need to get y alone. So everything else needs to move. So I'm going to move the 3D. That gives me 5y equals 5d plus 6, and then divide by 5. And I get y equals 5d plus 6 over 5. Now, I would have actually... You could also, if that answer wasn't there, because I know it's very typical of authors of answers, when they end up with stuff like this, you can write them all kinds of different ways. You could have said 5d over 5 plus 6 fifths, which would have simplified to d plus 6 fifths. That would have been an acceptable answer if that was one on there. Okay? So just beware, if the one you have isn't there, check and see if maybe they didn't do some simplifying somewhere. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Jennifer and Dave each drove their own cars on a trip. Jennifer drove 25 miles farther than Dave. Dave drove 150 miles, and Jennifer drove 1t5 miles, where t represents the digit in the tens place. What is the value of t? They're trying to make this more complicated than it is. Dave drove 150 miles. It says that Jennifer drove 25 miles farther than that, so she drove 175 miles. But they don't want 175, they just want to know the digit that's in the tens place, which would be 7. Okay. Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Joel jogs 3.5 miles every half hour. If he continues at this rate, how many miles will Joel jog in 5 hours? Well, the thing is, they're saying he's going to continue at this rate. Well, I don't know what the rate is. I know the distance and I know the time. Oh, distance equals rate times time. So if I take this information, I can figure out the rate that he's going. So it's giving me 3.5 miles equals the rate I don't know times half an hour. So to figure out my rate, I'm going to divide by 0.5, divide by 0.5, and my rate is 7 miles an hour. Okay, so now that I know the rate, I can figure out the distance now. So we're doing distance equals rate times time again. But now they want to know, what will the distance be if he travels at 7 miles an hour for 5 hours? Well, that would be 35 miles. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, triangle ABC and triangle ADE shown below are congruent right triangles. So this is 90, that's 70. Okay, the measure of ACB is 70 and the measure of BAD is 80. What is the measure of CBX? CBX. They want to know this angle right here. Well, I need to figure out this angle because this is a straight line, and if I could figure out this angle, I could take 180 minus 90 minus this. Well, if these are congruent right triangles, then these two sides are equal, which makes this an isosceles triangle, which means my base angles are equal. Okay, so if my base angles are equal, to figure out the measure of that angle, I can say 80 plus x, because I know these have to be the same measure, has to equal 180. So I'm going to minus 80 and combine like terms. I get 2x equals 100. Divide by 2, I get x equals 50 degrees. So this has to be 180, take away the 50, take away the 90, and that would leave me 40 degrees for that angle. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And they want to know which one is a rhombus. A rhombus is a square that is kind of tilted. Typically, that's what a rhombus looks like. But a square meets all the definition of a rhombus. It has all four congruent sides. And I can't remember all the rest of the things. But yeah, a square is a rhombus, just straightened out. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Okay, it says, which of the following expressions contains only numbers that are both multiples of 4 and factors of 32? Well, if I figure out my multiples of 4, 4 goes into 4 once. Multiples means multiplied by a factor, 4 by a factor. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. Times 5 is 20. Times 6 is 24. Times 7 is 28. Times 8 is 32. Times 9 is 36. And I'm looking at my answers, and nothing goes past 32. So I've got enough multiples of 4 for my data. And then factors of 32, now you're looking for numbers that go into 32. 32 divided by 1 is 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16. So 2 and 16 are factors, 1 and 32 are factors. 32 divided by 3 is a decimal, so 3 is not a factor. 32 divided by 4 is 8, so they're both factors. 32 divided by 5 is a decimal. 32 divided by 6 is a decimal. 32 divided by 7 is a decimal, and 32 divided by 8 is 4. And once you start repeating, you know you've got them all. So you're looking for the ones that they have in common. Well, they both have a 4. They both have an 8. They do not both have a 12. They both have a 16. They do not both have a 20, or a 24, or a 28, but they all have a 32, and they don't have a 36. So my factors that they match are 4, 8, 16, and 32. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, they're telling us to add these two polynomials. So I have 12z to the 7th plus 5z to the 4th minus 3z squared plus 8z. Now, because I'm adding that polynomial, none of these signs will change. If that was a minus, all of those signs would change. But they're not going to change because I'm adding. So that's going to stay minus 6, 7z minus 2z to the 4th plus z squared plus 4. So now it's just combining like terms. I have a 7th degree and a 7th degree. 12 take away 6 leaves 6. I have a wrong color. Let me get a different color. I have a fourth degree and a fourth degree. 5 take away 2 would be 3z to the fourths left. I have a square and a square. Negative 3z squared plus 1z squared would be negative 2z squared. And then my last two terms don't match, so we just drop them like it's hot. So the 8z drops and the positive 4 drops. And that would be my polynomial, the sum of those polynomials. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. What is the value of x if x to the n equals 3 to the negative n? Okay. 3 to the negative n. Well, what I'm trying to do is get x alone. Okay. So to kill an nth degree, you take the nth root from both sides. That will tell me what x is. Well, we got a problem over here. First of all, I'm going to rewrite 3 to the negative n as 1 over 3 to the n. Because remember, when you have a negative exponent, you got to move floors to turn it positive. So now I can say, well, I can take the root of the top separate from the root of the bottom. Any root of 1 is going to be 1. And the nth root of 3 to the n is going to be 3. So x has to equal 1/3. Yeah. Okie dokie. Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, you're adding fractions. So the whole crisscross straight across will work. But I have to admit I did it that way, and it kind of makes things a lot longer than the other way. But I don't know how good, most people, I don't know how well you guys understand common denominators. That's usually why people hate fractions so much. So I'm going to stick with my crisscross straight across, since that's the way I've been teaching you all along. So if I criss, that's going to be x minus 2 times 3x. Copy the sign. Cross is going to be 2x times 4x plus 1. Straight across is going to be 2x times 3x. Well, what happens is, depending on how you want to solve this, I can distribute, and that would give me 3x squared minus 6x. Distribute here would give me positive 8x squared plus 2x. Combine like terms, I would get 11x squared minus 4x all over 6x squared. Well, that answer isn't there. But if I factor, in other words on top, they have an x in common. So if I factor out an x, that's going to leave 11x minus 4. In the bottom, I can factor out an x, which would just leave 6x. Well, the x's cancel, and I'm left with 11x minus 4 over 6x, which is my solution. Okay? Just in case you're going to like the common denominator, again, these are polynomials, so sometimes polynomials are easier just to get a common denominator than to do the whole crisscross thing. So I'll show you just in case, but pick whichever way makes more sense to you. Alright, what you got to look at is you want to get a common denominator. Well, they both have an x, so I need an x. And then the smallest thing that 2 and 3 both go into would be 6. So to turn 2x times what would be 6x? Well, times 3. So if you do it to the bottom, you do it to the top, and that makes 3x minus 6. On the other fraction, alright, you need 6x, you have 3x, so 3x goes into 6x 2 times, so I need to multiply the top and the bottom by 2, and that will give me a positive 8x and a positive 2. And on bottom again, that would give me the 6x, which I only need to write once because now these match. So combine like terms, I get, there's my 11x, there's my minus 4, and there's my over 6x. So hopefully crisscross, straight across makes sense to you, or finding a least common denominator makes sense to you. Alright, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, you can split this any way you want. I chose to just drop this down here. They want the area units of the whole figure. Well, I'm breaking it up, and if I can get the area of this rectangle and the area of this, and add them up, I'll have the area of the whole figure. Well, I know that this rectangle, the area is going to be 10 times 5, which is 50. Well, if this whole length is 10, and I use up 3 of it here, that leaves 7 here. So this happens to be a square, whose area would be 7 times 7, which would be 49. So if I take 50 plus 49, I get 99. Okay. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, when C number of chores are divided equally among 11 workers, there are 4 chores left over. How many chores will be left if there are C plus 9 chores? I gotta admit, I looked at this one for a long time, and I was like, what? How are you supposed to figure it? Then I thought, well, just make something up. If there's 11 workers, and it went into the number of chores equally, but 4 left over, that means there was 11 chores, so each one got a chore, plus there was 4 left over, which gave me a total of 15 chores. Well, it says, what if there's C plus 9 chores? Well, if I add 9 to that, I would get, that's 24 chores that I have to split equally among 11 workers. Well, that will go in there 2 times. 11 goes into 24 twice. Take away 22 leaves 2 left over, so I would get 2 and 2 11ths. Well, I'm sorry, they're asking me for how many are left over then. 2. There's your remainder. Okay. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, for which of the following pairs of numbers is the average 3t minus 2? Well, if I look at A, average means add them up plus 3t minus 2 and divide by 2. Well, that 5t plus 3t is going to give me 8t. 1 minus 2 is going to give me negative 1 divided by 2. And that's not 3t minus 2, so A is not it. B, I'm going to take 4t plus 2 plus 2t minus 6 and average it. 4t plus 2t is 6t. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Divided by 2 is 3t minus 2. So B is the answer. And again, I wouldn't check the rest of them once you found them. Okay? But when you take an average, you add them up and divide by how many there are. Okay, once we got it, we don't have to check the rest. Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Okay, it says for x not equal to negative 4, which of the following is equivalent to this? So they're not saying when is it not defined, which is usually what they ask for me on this. And when they do say simplify, then usually I can factor the top and cancel it with something in the bottom. But I can't factor the top, and so I can't cancel anything out. And I'm thinking, what the heck do they want me to do? Well, that bar means divide. So they want me to do division. We learned long division in my tutorials, and we learned synthetic division. I'm going to do synthetic division. So if I put negative 4 in the whole, my third degree coefficient is 3. My second degree is 11. My first degree is 0. Remember, if you're missing a degree, you've got to put a 0 in there or you won't get the right answer. And then 16 on the end. And then you draw the line, and the first number comes down just as it is. And then you multiply by that. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. 11 eats negative 12, comes out negative 1 times negative 4. Makes positive 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. Times negative 4 is negative 16, which gives me a remainder of 0. And then all you do is you look at your original degree, which was a third degree, and your answer will be 1 degree less than that. Oops. So x squared, then x, and then your constant. Alright? Alright, try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, it says, what is the value of s in this mess? Alright, well, let's simplify this side. S times 2y is going to be 2sy. S times negative 3 is going to be negative 3s. Positive 5 times 2y is positive 10y squared. Positive 5y times negative 3 is negative 15y. And that says that it's equal to this mess, which there's no simplifying to do. So just write it, 10y squared minus 3s plus 9y. Well, they want me to figure out what s is. So I'm going to get everything on one side. So I'm going to minus 10y squared minus 10y squared. That will kill that. I'm going to add 3s. I'm going to add 3s. That will kill that. I'm going to, now I'm trying to get s alone. So let's see what I got so far. I've got 2sy minus 15y equals 9y. Okay, so I got rid of everything I could. Now I need to get s alone. So I'm going to move the 15y over. That gives me 2sy equals 24y. And to get s alone, I'm going to divide by 2y. 2y gives me s. And 24 divided by 2 is 12. Okay. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got those two. Okay, when you have absolute value bars, remember, drop, drop, keep, drop, flip, change. So I'm going to drop the bars, drop the equal, keep the sign the same. Or I'm going to drop the bars. If it's an equal sign, you can't flip it. And change the sign. Okay? And now solve them both for your two answers. So add 4, 3t equals 12, divide by 3, t equals 4. Add 4, 3t equals negative 4, divide by 3, t equals negative 4/3. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, in a right triangle, if sine theta is 5 over 13, what is the value of cosecant theta? Well, if you remember from your identities, sine and cosecant are reciprocal. These two are reciprocals to each other. So if sine is 5 over 13, then cosecant of the same angle is, flip it over, 13 over 5. Okay? Alright, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Okay, you have a couple of choices to find a y-intercept of a line. A line in slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So if you can work this to get y alone, then your y-intercept is whatever that constant is on the end. The other way that sometimes is a lot easier, if you want to get a y-intercept, you need to make x 0, and that will tell you where it crosses the y-axis at. And in my mind, that's going to make things a lot easier. So I'm going to just make all my x's 0. So 10y plus 2 times 0 equals 4 times 0 plus 5y plus 7. Those are going to be zeros, so they don't affect us. I got to get my y's on the same side, so minus 5y minus 5y. I get 5y equals 7. Divide by 5, divide by 5, and y equals 7/5. Okay? Give me just a second, please. I will be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, so an 18-foot flagpole. Dang it. An 18-foot flagpole. There's your little flag. It's 18 feet. And it says it casts a shadow. That's on the ground. So its shadow is 24 feet. How long is the distance between the top of the flagpole and the end of the shadow? So they want me to find the hypotenuse. So we have 18 squared plus 24 squared equals x squared. This is 900 equals x squared, square root, and you get x equals 30. Okay. Alrighty, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, there's a law that when you divide monomials, dang it. When you divide monomials, you subtract exponents. So you can do your 2's and your A's and your B's and your C's separately. So I have 2 divided by 4. I have a to the negative 2 minus 3. I have a b cubed, and this guy's going to move upstairs, so that's going to be c to the positive 4, because negative exponents move floors. Why didn't I just move this one down? Well, I could have, but again, the reason I just moved him up was I was going to see what happened, but there was no other c on top, so nothing else is going to happen to c. Whereas here, I don't know what that exponent on top is going to end up doing. Okay, so if I simplify, I get 1/2, a to the negative 5, b to the 3rd, c to the 4th. So I have anything with a positive exponent stays up top. So 1 and b cubed and c to the 4th are up top. Anything with a negative exponent or in the bottom stays in the bottom. So that's going to be 2, a to the 5th, which gives me k. Okay, try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, and they want the distance between those points. So remember, your distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So if I call this x1 and y1 and this x2 and y2, my distance will be the square root of 2 minus 6 squared plus 3 minus a negative 5 squared. That will give me a negative 4 squared, and that will give me a positive 8 squared. That gives me 16 plus 64, which is 80. Since the square root of 80 isn't there, I'm assuming they broke it down. If I break 80 down, by 2 is 40, by 2 is 20, by 2 is 10, by 2 is 5. There's a perfect square, there's a perfect square, there's not a perfect square. So 2 times 2 is 4 on the outside, square roots of 5 on the inside. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got G. Alright, when I first look up here, okay, I noticed that we have a 4th degree x, a 3rd degree x, and a 2nd degree x, which tells me they all have x's in common. And they have 2 copies in common. The smallest one is always the most they have in common. So I'm going to GCF an x squared out. If I factor out an x squared, I get 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. And now I can factor that as a quadratic. So I got to do a times c, so 6 times 10 is 60, Factors of 60 that make 11. 1 and 60 will not. 2 and 30 will not. 3 and 20 will not. 4 goes in there 15 times. That pair will make 11. So I'm going to rewrite B as 4x and 15x. I got to figure out my signs. Well, C says they have to be opposite because C is negative. So only the bully gets the middle. So 15 is plus and 4 is minus. And I'm going to bring the ends down. So I have 6x squared on the front minus 10 on the back. Now I can do 2 by 2. GCF, GCF, GCF again. Woo! It's a little song. If you watch the tutorials, you'll know. All right, what do these two, the 6x squared and the 4x, have in common? They have a 2 and an x in common. If I factor out a 2x, I'm going to get 3x minus 2. On the other side, they have a 5 in common, and you always take this guy's sign. So divide by 5, I get 3x minus 2. At this point, you better have a matching bino or you did something wrong, or it's prime. I have a matching bino. It's 3x minus 2. If you factor that out of both sides of the wall, you're left with 2x plus 5. Okay? So my factors are, don't forget this guy, my factors are x squared, 3x minus 2, and 2x plus 5. Okay? Alright, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Kim runs a mile on Sunday and a mile every day that week. Her time decreases each day as shown by the graph below. How much time can Kim expect to take to run a mile on Saturday of that week? Well, you have a couple ways of doing this. And again, in an ACT type situation, you're looking for the fastest way. I mean, I could figure out a slope, I have to figure out a slope no matter what. And I could come up with the equation for this line and then plug in Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I could call this 1, Monday 2, Tuesday 3, Wednesday 4, Thursday 5, Friday 6, Saturday 7. I could plug in 7 to whatever equation I came up with. But you're going to have to find an M and a B to do that, and yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I did pick 2 points. I picked this point and I picked this point to find a slope. So this ordered pair would be 1, 9. This ordered pair would be 5, 7. So if I find my slope, that's going to be 7 minus 9 over 5 minus 1. That's negative 2 over 4, which gives me a slope of negative 1/2. So all I have to do, again, the easier way, the less work way, the save as much time as you can way, would be follow the slope from the last point until you get to Saturday. Well, it says go down 1, so I'd go down to 6, and I'd go over 2 days. Well, that puts me at Saturday. So on Saturday, I can expect to run a mile in, or she can expect to run a mile in 6 minutes. I think I would die before I finish the mile, but Kim can do it. All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. All right, the polygon below is a regular hexagon. What regular means is that all sides are equal, okay? So it says AB is equal to 4, which means every side is equal to 4. Okay, that's what a regular polygon means, that all sides are equal. So it says length AB is equal to 4 units. FD is perpendicular to CD. FD is perpendicular, so this is a 90-degree angle. Oh, look, and they want to know how long is CF. All right, so I'm looking at this triangle right here, which is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. I'll try and draw it the same. Okay, if this is 60 degrees, then this is the short side. If this is the 30 degrees, that is going to be the long side. And if this is 90, that's going to be the hypotenuse. Well, if you remember from your 30, 60, 90 triangle, The short side, if that's x, your long side will be x square roots of 3. And your long side will be 2x. It'll be double the shortest side. Okay? So, what they're asking me for is the hypotenuse, which will be 2 times the shortest leg. Well, the shortest leg is the one next to 60, which is 4. So if I double that, the hypotenuse is 8. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. In triangle LMN below, the measure of angle L is 45 and the measure of angle M is 90, which makes this has to be 45. So, oh, looky, we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And whatever the legs are, the legs in a 45, 45, 90, the legs have to match, and the hypotenuse will be whatever that leg is times the square root of 2. So it says, let's see. If the length of LM is 7, how long is MN? Well, it has to be 7 too because it's a 45, 45 right triangle. Okay, try this one. Alright guys, on this one, the biggest thing you got to look for is when both things are squared. Okay, you're either going to have a circle, an ellipse, or a hyperbola. These two, the other side has to equal 1 in order for it to be an ellipse or hyperbola. If both things are squared and the other side doesn't equal 1, you can rule out ellipses and hyperbolas. Parabola just has an x squared. I don't really know what the equation of a sphere looks like. And parallel lines are lines, okay? Those would just be y equal mx plus b, no squares in them. So it's a circle. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And this one's just a straight up, you have the legs of a right triangle, are 4 and 6, they want to know what the hypotenuse is. Well, 4 squared plus 6 squared equals hypotenuse squared. So 16 plus 36 equals hypotenuse squared. So 52 equals hypotenuse squared, square root. And your hypotenuse is, if I break 52 down, by 2 is 26, by 2 is 13. That's a perfect square, which gives me 2 square roots of 13. Okay? Try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, they said in the figure below, points A, B, C, and D form a square, which tells us all sides are equal. What is the area of the figure in square units? I can get my area by taking a side and squaring it because this is a square. So all I have to do is figure out that length, which I can use the distance formula for. So the distance between A and D is the square root of the difference of the x's, -2 minus the -3 squared, plus the difference in the y's squared, which would be 4 minus 0 squared. So that would give me 1 squared, which is 1, and that would give me 4 squared, which is 16. So that gives me the square root of 17. So to get the area of my square, I take my side, the area square root of 17, and I square it. Well, when you square a square root, it cancels out, so the area has to be 17. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, it says the following set includes the solutions for which of the following equations, which means I have to find the solutions to all of those stinking equations. But they're all easy factors because A is 1. So for A, I need factors of 2 that make 1, which would be 2 and 1. C is negative, so Bully gets the middle and he doesn't. Set it to 0, which would claim that x equals -2 and x equals 1. Well, 1 is in there, but -2 isn't, so A's out. For B, If I factor this, I need factors of 12 that make 1, which would be 3 and 4. C is negative, so they have to be different, and only the bully will get the middle, so 4 is the minus, 3 is the positive, which if I set those to 0 and solved would give me x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 4. Well, negative 3 is in there, but positive 4 isn't, so B is out. If I try C, I need factors of 21 that make 4, which would be 7 and 3. Again, C is negative, so the signs have to be different, and bully 7 gets the middle sign, and 3 doesn't, which if I solved would give me x equals 7 and x equals negative 3. Those are both in there, so C has to be the right answer. And again, once you find it in a real SAT, obviously don't check the last two. You don't need to do that. Excuse me. You need to save time. But just for the practice, D, I need factors of 36 that would make 5. That would be 4 and 9. Again, C is negative, so bully 9 gets the middle and 4 doesn't, which would indicate that x equals negative 4 and x equals 9. Well, neither one of those are in the set. And then if I do E, factors of 66 that make 5, well, that would be 6 and 11. C is negative, so 11 gets the middle and 6 doesn't. Well, I said equals 5. All right, and then I'm going to, if I solve that, I get x equals negative 6 and x equals 11. And again, neither one of those are in the set. Okay. All right, try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. Okay, it says for which real values of x is this function defined? Well, it's not defined when the exponent equals 0. So if I try and, not the exponent, the denominator equals 0. So if I try and solve, get x alone in this denominator, well, you got a couple choices here. This is 4 to the 4x minus 8 degree. I can take the 4x minus 8 root, which you really couldn't do without knowing what x is. But at any rate, technically, that cancels that, and I get any root of 0 is 0. 4 can never equal 0. So there's nothing that is going to cause me drama. There's nothing that's going to make my denominator go to 0. So when you try and solve set the denominator 0 and you can't get an answer, that means that there's nothing in there that would make it go to 0. So you're defined everywhere. The function has no restrictions on it. Okay, try this one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. Okay, so it says, which of the following is an equation of a line having a slope of, sorry, for the answer, 2/3 and a y-intercept equal to 4? Well, I see slope and y-intercept, and I automatically think of slope-intercept form. You put the slope here, the y-intercept there, and my equation is y equals 2/3 x plus 4, done, except for your author's a jerk, and that answer isn't there. Well, what they've done, I'm looking at, is they've, first of all, no fractions, and they put the letters on the left and the constant on the right. Well, I can manipulate my equation any way I want. First of all, if you want to kill a fraction, I don't want divide by 3, so I'm going to multiply everything by 3. That gives me 3y equals, that 3 cancels, 2x plus 12. And then, like I said, to make my answer look like theirs, I need to get the letter on the other side. So if I minus 2x, I get 3y minus 2x equals 12. And that's the form they were looking for. All right. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. What is the smallest number in the solution set to this inequality? Well, I got to get x alone. So I'm going to move this x term over, which gives me negative 4x minus 16 is less than or equal to negative 4. So I'm going to add 16. I get negative 4x is less than or equal to 12. Divide by negative 4, and that will flip my inequality. So what my solution is x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So anything in this section would be solutions. Well, they want to know what's the smallest number in the solution. Well, that's the leftist number, which is negative 3. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, slope of a line, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my slope for these 2 points will be 5 minus 4 over 2 minus a negative 1. 5 minus 4 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. So my slope is 1 over 3. Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Okay, it says in the figure below, ABCD is a rectangle, so I know that's 90 degrees. If the measure of DEB is 135, what is the sine of angle ADE? So they want me to sine from here, which means I need opposite and hypotenuse. Okay? Well, they didn't give me any numbers. What did they give me? They gave me an angle measure. What the heck can I do with that? Well, I know that this whole line is a straight line, so if I take 180 and subtract 135, that leaves this angle to be 45, which makes this angle 45 because a 45 angle and a 90 angle, the third one has to be 45, which makes it a 45-45 right triangle, which means that the legs are matched, and if I just use 1 as my unit, then my hypotenuse would be 1 times the square root of 2. So if I sine from here, my opposite, sine of angle ADE, will be opposite, which is 1 over hypotenuse, which is the square root of 2. So why is this their answer? Well, because you can't leave a radical in the denominator, you have to rationalize that. So if I multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2, I get the square root of 2 over the square root of 4, which is the square root of 2 over 2. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Alright, the only way that you're going to have values of the square root that's smaller than what you started with is if y is positive and greater than 1. So it's got to be a. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Okay, so it says, which of the following values for t will make the largest value of s in this equation? Well, if I look at f, I'd have s equals negative 4 cubed minus 4. Minus a negative 4, sorry. Well, negative 4 cubed would be negative 64 plus 4 would give me, wait, I'm putting in negative 4, right? Negative 4 cubed would be negative 64 minus a negative, that would give me negative 60. And that's not very big. Okay, let's try G. If I plug in negative 2, I have s equals negative 2 cubed minus a negative 2. That's going to give me negative 8 plus 2, which gives me negative 6. For h, if I plug in 0, I get s equals 0 cubed minus 0, which gives me 0. Hj, if I plug in 2, I get s equals 2 cubed minus 2. That's 8 minus 2, which is 6. And if I do k, plug in 4, I get s equals 4 cubed minus 4. That's going to give me 64 minus 4, which gives me positive 60, which out of all of my solutions, that one is the largest. Okay. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. All right, in a right triangle, XYZ below, the measure of y is 90 degrees. The length of XY is 9, and the length of XZ is 5 squared to 10. How long is ZY? So they're looking for this side up here. Well, it's Pythagorean theorem. So leg squared plus the other leg squared has to equal my hypotenuse squared. Well, when you square 9, you get 81. When you square a radical, you got to square the coefficient and the radical piece. So the square of 5 is 25, and the square of the square root of 10 is 10. So I'm going to have leg squared equals 250, take away 81, which gives my leg squared equal to 169, square root, and you get the leg equal to 13. Okay. All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. All right, the solutions for this function when the equation is solved for x are, when they tell you to solve a quadratic, you can either factor, do quadratic formula, all right, whatever you want to do. I'm going to do factoring. It's a little weird because you have x's and t's, but the process is the same since a is 1. So I have x and x. Factors of 8 that make 2 would be 4 and 2, but because of this t squared on the end, they're going to have their t's, okay? So since c is negative, signs have to be different, and bully will copy the middle, and the other one won't. So if I solve that now, x minus 4t equals 0, and x plus 2t equals 0. Add 4t, I get x equals 4t. Minus 2t, I get x equals negative 2t. Okay? Try this one. Come back when you're ready. All right, in a right triangle, one leg is 5 units long and the hypotenuse is 13. What is the area of the squared units? Well, for a right triangle, I need base times height divided by 2. So I'm going to have to find that base. Well, I'm going to have leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So leg squared equals 169 minus 25, which gives me 144. And the square root of 144 is 12. So now the area of my base is going to, the area of my triangle is going to be my base times my height divided by 2. 12 times 5 is 60, divided by 2 gives me an area of 30 units squared. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, a scientist observed a thermometer starting at 0 degrees. The thermometer moved a certain number of degrees F by the first observation and another number of degrees S from the first to the second observation. The equations below describe the observations. Anytime they give you two equations in the same problem, you should think systems of equations, which can either be solved by substitution or elimination. I'm going to do elimination. And I'm going to try and eliminate the f's. So I'm going to multiply the top by the bottom, which is 6, and the bottom by the top, which is 4. If your signs come out the same, you need to make one of them different. If they come out different, you need to make them the same. So I made my little 4 negative on the bottom there. Okay? So when I distribute, I'm going to have 24f plus 60s equals 120. When I distribute to negative 4, I'm going to have negative 24f, negative 36s equals negative 24. And just like I thought would happen, because that's the whole reason I did it, the f's cancel. I have 60 s's, take away 30 s's, which 36 s's, sorry, which leaves 24 s's, equals 120 take away 24 leaves 96. Divide by 24 and I get s equals 4. To find f, I'm going to substitute it back in. So I would have 4f plus 10 times 4 equals 20. So I have 4f plus 40. But move to the other side would give me 4f equals negative 20. Divide by 4 and I get f equals negative 5. So if f is from the first, so it was already at negative 5, right? Plus 4 leaves me what? Negative 1. Okay? Go, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, if a line passes through the points this, with which of the following would be the slope of a line parallel? The one that has the exact same slope as he does. So to get that slope, I use my slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. 4 minus 2 is 2. 5 minus 9 is negative 4, so my slope is negative 1/2, which means a parallel slope would also be negative 1/2. No other choice, or it's not parallel. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. In the diagram below, what is cotangent of theta? Well, cotangent, you're standing down here. Cotangent is adjacent over opposite. Well, this is not adjacent, that's the hypotenuse. So I need to figure out this side, and I have opposite. So to get that missing leg, leg squared plus 10 squared equals 26 squared. And so I get my leg squared equals 676 minus 100. So my leg squared equals 576 square root, and the other leg is 24. So now my cotangent of theta is adjacent, which is 24, over opposite, which is 10. And if I reduce by 2, I get 12 over 5. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, in the figure below, AB is perpendicular to DE. AB, so there's their right angles. The measure of CAD is equal to the measure of CEB, so those are equal. And the length of CE is 18 units. If the length of AD is 10 units, then what is the length of EB? So they want this one. Well, I'm assuming that these are proportional. They're not congruent, but they're similar triangles. Okay, so I can say that if I flip this over, then 10 would relate, so 10 would be in the same position as x, just as 6 is in the same position as 18. So if I solve that proportion, I can figure it out. So I would have 10 times 18 equals 6 times x. So this will be 180 equals 6x. Divide by 6, and x equals 30. So this length of this side would be 30 units. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, in the diagram below, triangle ABC is similar. So we know to XYZ. So we know little a is proportional to little x, little b is proportional to little y, and little c is proportional to little z. All right, how long is XZ? Well, which little letter is that? It's across from big Y, so it's little y. So I can set up my proportions. This would be y, this would be z, this would be x, this would be little a, this would be little b, and this would be little c. So if I set them up, then I can tell which method I'm going to use. So I have, what's little a? Little a is 4 over little x is, I don't know, equals 2 over, I don't know, equals, what else right now? 5 over 8. Yeah? Wait a second. A over x, b is 5 over y is y, and then c and z, well, c is 2, and z, I don't know. Well, darn it, I know something. Oh, I know x is 8. There we go. All right, so they want me to find the y, so I don't really need this ratio. So I'm going to solve these two, which would give me 4 times y equals 8 times 5. That's 4y equals 40, so y equals 10. Okay. Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, one period of the curve, y equals 2 cosine theta, is shown below. The height of the curve at 2 pi is 2. So at 2 pi, the highest point's at 2. The height at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 are zeros. See how they cross the x-axis? And the height at pi is negative 2. So what will the height of the curve be at 18 pi over 4? I don't know. Well, what you got to do is extend your graph. All right, if you want to count by fourths, okay, now they did, but then they simplified every other one because of the divisibility. But this would be pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, which, yes, reduces to pi over 2. 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4. Yeah, that's why they get pi. 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4, 8 pi over 4, 9 pi over 4, 5 pi, 10 pi over 2, 4. Right, that'd be this one. And I need to keep going. So 11 pi over 4, and 12 pi over 4, and wait a minute, dang, I'm way off here. Alright, sorry, I'm getting sleepy. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, stuff is for the birds. Alright, sorry, pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, which yes reduces to pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4, 8 pi over 4, 9 pi over 4, 10 pi over 4, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I got to go all the way out to 18, yeah? What the heck am I doing? Oh, this is 10 pi over 4. Sorry. This is 10 pi over 4. So this would be 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's my 18 pi over 4. Okay, so what you have to notice, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make little asymptotes here. And I'm going to mark wherever there's a 0 or an amplitude, which is every other mark. Follow? Yes? Okay. So then I'm going to continue the pattern. Well, what the pattern is for cosine, it starts at its amplitude, then goes to a 0, then to its down amplitude, then back to 0, then to up amplitude, back to 0, down amplitude, back to 0, up amplitude, back to 0. And if you connect these, you can see your pattern just continues on. But anyway, the question is, what is the height of the curve at 18 pi over 4? Well, 0, because it's on the 0. Okay. All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. For which of the following values of z is this function undefined? Well, 2z squared plus 7z minus 15 can never equal 0. I can't GCF anything out, so I'm going to have to do the long factor song. 2 times 15 is 30. Factors of 30, and I'm trying to make 7. 1 and 30 will not. 2 and 15 will not. 3 and 10 will. So I'm going to rewrite using 3x and 10x, but c is negative, so the signs have to be different. And bully 10 will take what's in the middle, so 3 has to get the minus. First and last drop. So 2z squared and minus 15 on the end. So now I can go 2 by 2. GCF, GCF, GCF again. Woo! Alright, so... why did I put x? Those are z's. My bad. So what do these two have in common? Well, they have a z in common. Factor out a z gives me 2z minus 3. What these guys have in common is a positive 5. Divide by 5, divide by 5, I get 2z minus 3. And like I said earlier, at this point, if you don't have a matching bino, you did something wrong or it's prime to begin with. So what I'm going to do then is solve them. Or factor out, sorry. So my common bino is 2z minus 3. If I divide out 2z minus 3, 2z minus 3, I'm left with z plus 5. If I solve those, I get 2z minus 3 equals 5. That means 0. Which would give me 2z equals 3, which would give me z equals 3 halves. That answer isn't there. So my second one would say z plus 5 equals 0, so minus 5 minus 5, z equals negative 5. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, we could do this with matrices, but you don't have to. It says a movie critic is tracking the attendance of 3 independent films, Oyster Point, Quinn's Island, and whatever that says. The matrices below show the attendance number for opening night at the downtown, Main Square, and county theaters, and the cost of the tickets at each theater. What was the opening sales for all the movies at these theaters on opening night? Well, again, we don't have to use the matrices. To figure out what downtown made, I'm going to add up all these numbers, 91 plus 87 plus 75, and I'm going to multiply it by price, and that will give me 206 times 8, okay, which gives, I don't know what that gives me, but anyway, that's what this is, 206 by 8. To get my second, my whatever they're doing, different color. I'm going to do 68 plus 53 plus 47 times 10. Well, that becomes 175 times 10. And then last but not least, we do the bottom one, which says we're going to do 47 plus 35 plus 22 times 22. And that gives me, or why are we doing 22? 22, where did I get 22? I meant 9, sorry. That gives me 144 times 9. Well, all that mess gives me $4,694. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Okay, which of the following is the equation for the graph below? All right, first of all, I know that it's not a circle because it's elongated, which means it's either an ellipse or hyperbola. So that's a parabola, that's a circle, these two are possibilities, that's a parabola, so I'm down to these two. Well, if you remember, if it's elongated this way, the bigger number will be under y squared. If it was elongated this way, the bigger number is under the x squared. So my answer has to be H. Okay, solve this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. All right, what's the solution set for this? Well, quadratics, I've got to get 0 on one side. So I'm going to move negative 18 over, which gives me negative 3x squared, negative 3x plus 18 greater than 0. I'm going to factor out a negative 3, which will leave positive x squared, positive x, negative 6 greater than 0. That's going to give me, that should now be an easy factor. Factors of 6 that make 1 would be 2 and 3. Bully gets the middle. Set it to 0, so this would imply that x equals 2, and this would imply that x equals negative 3. Now guys, on a number line, you got to be careful. I mean, this would say that x has to be greater than 0, and this would say that negative 3 has to be greater than 0. All right? But watch. You need to test. These are tricky. So plot your numbers, negative 3, 2, and pick a section. Again, I told you in the tutorials, it's not really supposed to, but pretty much, unless something weird happens, and once you find one section, and if you know it's either true or false, you can alternate on all the other ones. So I usually pick a section where 0 is, because it's easy to plug 0 into problems. So if I change all my x's to zeros, I want to know, is it a true statement or not? Well, that'd be 0 squared times negative 3 is 0. That's 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. Is 0 greater than negative 18? Well, yes, it is. So if this section is true, then these sections have to be false. So there would be my solution, which is all the x's between negative 3 and 2. But if you were graphing this, these would have no bars because it's not or equal to. Okay. All right, last one. Hit pause, come back when you're ready. Okay, angle ABC lies in the xy coordinate plane. Line BA is represented by this equation, which is going to be a line somewhere. And line BC is represented by this equation. And it says where, I'm sorry I cut it off, where are the coordinates of the vertex, or where they intersect. Yeah, well, pretty much, because they're going to they're going to intersect. There's where the angle forms, so that would, yeah, that would be the vertex of the angle. Okay? So, all we have to do is figure out where the lines intersect, and we have their intersection point. We have the vertex, yeah? Well, it's a system of equations. Y equals 3x plus 5. And I'm going to do substitution. I don't choose it very often. But when they give me equations with a letter alone, that makes my decision a lot easier. So let's see, I know what both y's equal, so I can either take this over and put it in for y, or I could take this and put it in for y on that side. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go to the right. So I'm going to change y to 3x plus 5 equals 6x plus 8. So I'm trying to figure out what x is. So I'm going to minus 6x minus 6x. I get negative 3x plus 5 equals 8. Minus 5 minus 5. Negative 3x equals 3. Divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. X equals negative 1. Yeah? To figure out what y is, plug it in. I get y equals 3 times negative 1 plus 5. That's negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2. So their intersection point is at negative 1 comma 2. Okay? That will do it for this time. I will see you next time for practice test 4.